at Schaer with the Broken for Better podcast.
And we are a marriage ministry that believes that you can pick up something today to make your relationship better. Enjoy.
Welcome back. Here we are. Man, it's been a couple weeks since you and I got to hang together.
I know, it's been a while. We did a couple different podcasts with different guests, and now here we are back together. Yeah.
Kurt and Denette, just two best friends having a conversation. And listen, today, we're just going to chop up complaining versus criticizing.
Oh, okay.
Complaining versus criticizing. Now, I'm going to lay it out there. Okay. I want you to be vulnerable and honest on complaints that you have against me.
How vulnerable do you want me to be?
Okay.
Okay.
Complaints or areas that maybe I criticize.
Okay.
I just want to put myself on blast so that we can give real life illustrations.
Maybe I don't want you to be very vulnerable with me. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I won't be.
You can be, then we can talk about it later. It'll be fun. It'll be a good night.
So listen, let's first, and this is a topic that's big for us because as we sit through a lot of life coaching with couples, we hear a lot of complaints, but we also hear a lot of criticisms.
Yes, we do.
And so for us, it's really differentiating that, hey, listen, in a relationship with two broken people, two unperfected people, we come together, there's going to be real life situations and we're going to have feelings about things and we're going to have things that we complain about. Just that overarching thing is just that, is complaining is just this feeling that I have. We've actually learned in our relationship, how do we deal with any complaint or ought that we have? How about that word?
You ought not use that word. It makes you sound funny, but okay.
How do we deal with complaints? What's our line?
I feel like this needs to be fixed. No, I'm just kidding. We try to use our emotions, our feelings, how we perceive it as a person, and not what we want necessarily the action to be. Not like, hey, do this, or but more feeling.
It's definitely this complaint thing going, listen, I feel this way. I'm mad. I'm angry. I'm sad. Not happy. I'm sad. Yeah. I'm jealous. There are certain things that are real feelings that are given to us that we have. And so it's being able to complain and go, hey, here's my heart. This is the way I feel. Now that criticism point is when I've now taken this feeling or this unhappiness I have towards a situation, an item, or a thing, and I now make it personal.
Yeah.
That's when I begin to criticize, hey, it's not the thing anymore. It's now you that I have an issue with. We begin to use absolutes. You never, you always.
Yeah.
These things that we've now gone, okay, listen, if I have an issue, let's just throw out an issue. What's an issue that you have a complaint about?
I don't like when you put your clothes on the chair in our bedroom instead of putting them away, or even the hamper that's right there. You just put them on the chair.
Okay. So,
that's a complaint. It makes me feel
we're going to dive. Wait, time out. We're not going that far. Okay, so first off, we have a chair in our bedroom that I don't think anyone's ever sat in.
It's for looks. It's a pretty chair.
I literally think it is a clothes hamper.
Ladies, do you have a pretty chair with a nice, beautiful blanket strewn over it with a pillow? It's supposed to it sets the mood when you walk into the bedroom. Aesthetically pleasing.
And it holds jeans really good.
And it holds jeans and shirts.
So your complaint is that I don't throw my clothes in the hamper. Now, make that a criticism.
You never do anything that I like. You don't even see what's important to me. You just ignore me. You just ignore anything that I want or desire.
Well, that came off really real. I'm starting to think, wow, I want to go clean the hamper of the clothes chair.
Go clean the chair. No,
but you see now where you have this issue like, hey, Kurt, you don't clean your clothes. That is now two people looking at a subject, looking at an item and going, hey, how can we fix this?
Yeah.
Hey, how do we together navigate this scenario? Mm-hmm. When you criticize, it's, hey, you never do this. Well, that's not true because there are once or twice a month that I do make it to the hamper. So it's like, you can't say I never. Well, when you begin to tell me what I always do, now I can fight you on that because that's not truth. And so now I can defend my truth.
Right.
And the truth is, no, I do it. Not all do. I do that, but not all the time. And now we've taken this object. Now the problem is no longer even the problem because we've made it personal.
Right.
Okay. One of the complaints for me, and I think it's very valid, and we're just gonna come on here. This is like our own little coaching session.
This is our own therapy.
One of my complaints.
Welcome to our therapy session with each other.
Welcome to our session. Is just this feeling like the air has to be on 68 degrees.
Because it should be.
And then telling me, like, I'm a woman, and so I have these hot flashes. Like,
put
all
on a
these
sweatshirt.
things.
You'll be okay.
Put on a sweatshirt in your own home in Florida. It's like I have this complaint, but when I begin to go, wow, you always cost us all this money because of the electric. And wow, our house is always freezing. It's miserable to be in. Well, now you and I have some major tension in our own life. And so we really had to come a long way because early on, I will tell you, I was terrible at it. Really critical, criticized a lot. And a lot of it's the baggage that I brought into a relationship. So if I'm not the healthiest me and I'm insecure and I'm dealing with fears and worries and doubts and things like that, and now somebody brings a complaint to me,
right?
I don't see it through a proper filter and a proper lens. That complaint now is criticism. And now, man, you and I are going to do really good at combating this.
Right.
And since we're both great at getting the last word in, sometimes those were far long.
Amazing at that. We should be a competition.
It should not be a competition.
No, but for me, the opposite was true. So like being a people pleaser, like I definitely would see, and we've talked about this in the past podcasts, like we didn't have the best communication skills. So anything that you said that was negative towards me or that I saw in a negative light, I automatically would combat you on it because I saw it as direct criticism, and we just didn't have those communication tools. So if you came to me and you were like, this makes me upset or this isn't done correctly, instead of it being like, hey, I feel like this when you don't validate something that's important to me. I think one of the words you said, previously when we talked about emotions, a lot of times what we'll see when we coach couples, sometimes they will even use the emotions with sad or mad, but some of those bigger, harder words like I'm jealous, I'm insecure, those words a lot of times aren't used, but they come out in our conflict, whether or not we say them with criticism. They come out with like, you're never home on time. I can't trust you. Because there's a deeper issue there, and it's trust, or it's fear, or it's insecurity, or jealousy. It can be there's a reason for that, that.
Yeah.
conflict.
And man, I'm so glad you said that, because the reality is those are all very real things.
Yeah.
There was a season in our life when you had major fear and you couldn't trust me, and there's these things. And so what you begin to realize is as you're getting healthy and as you begin to work on this complaining versus criticizing thing, what you're saying is you really have got to deal with the luggage before you enter into these new seasons.
Yeah.
Because you can try to get as healthy as you want, learn great communication, but if you haven't dealt with the crap behind you, rest assured it's going to come back up when you don't want it to.
Yeah, or know that you care about your partner enough that if you're in it now, you're in the relationship, like saying, okay, we need to unpack together. I got a lot of baggage, and this is why I have these really like bad triggers when it comes to certain like conflict resolution, because we need to unpack it.
Yeah. And I think especially in this, complaining, because I think most people would go like, I don't know that I'm not criticizing you. I'm just stating the way I feel. Well, okay, but stating the way you feel with zero compassion or love behind it comes off as harsh daggers. I mean, comes off as nasty words because you don't realize all the emotion that is tied up in with the way you feel. And so it's, how do I deliver crap in a really nice box? I could have
said a different word. I know. You could have said doo-doo.
I already said that.
I know.
So it's like, how do I deliver this?
Episode.
And you're just in your own little zone
I'm
over
over
there.
here. I could just roll them out.
Put the bun on it. It's a whole
the
new
messy
you.
Bun. That's
there.
Right.
It's not very messy though. It looks very nice
Thanks.
today.
I appreciate it.
I like it. For me, I'm going, okay, I want to get, and I do this a lot with couples as we sit, on couches and we just sit and talk. It's going, listen, what is this healthy communication. What does it look like to go, listen, I want to share my feelings and you not take it personal? So you said there is some insecurity there and there's some fears there. Like, let's just say for me, there's this borderline thing of complaining and criticism. We've already learned like hey, this is the way it makes me feel. What would you say is probably a way that you love complaints to be delivered to you? None of us like to have complaints delivered to us, right?
Yeah.
We don't like that we've made somebody unhappy. But let's just say, in my best effort to go, man, I'm really unhappy about this, how do you most like it delivered to you?
I think when you realize that the person is coming at the conversation or the topic with the best intentions for both parties, it's easier to accept. When we're in healthy seasons, it's easier for me to take a complaint. And for walking through a really hard season, that's very difficult. And I know that's probably not so easy to hear, but it's the truth. Like, I need to know that I can trust you when you come to me with something, and that can be really, really difficult because obviously you are fighting for each other. You want to be the best for each other. But when you're walking through a season where there is lack of security, lack of trust, lack of all those things, and someone comes to you with something that is important to them, it's very hard to then take that and say, okay, I have all these things that are important to me, but they don't see them. So now I'm supposed to take this thing that's important to them and I'm supposed to fix it. So it's like this gentle dance of like, I want to trust you with things that are concerning to me. And then I want to trust you I want to be trustworthy with the things that are concerning to you. Realizing that we're on the same team fighting for each other instead of at each other. And I don't know, does that make sense?
I love the way that you said you got to be able to trust. And that really puts it back on me. Like, hey, I have this complaint. You're trusting to go, hey, I trust you to bring a complaint with me, but no timing. Timing is everything.
Well, yeah, like let's think that let's say I've had a rough week, like even like the last couple of days for me, grief-wise has been hard. So like, I've been watching TV or, reading and filling my soul, which is all beautiful things. It's what I need to do. But then I come to you and are like, man, I wish you were doing more around the house. Well, I haven't been doing a lot around the house. So for me to come and complain to you in that season, that would be like, really, it would just be very insensitive of me. And realizing, what season is my spouse in? There might be a season that your spouse is working a full-time job and going to school full-time. And so, yeah, maybe things aren't exactly what you want them at home, but there's seasons, there's timing, there's different just growth and, ups and downs in every single marriage. And so it's kind of like weighing out those things. You can still talk about the things that are important, but realizing they aren't the majors too, if that makes sense.
I think for most guys, by and large, we like to feel that we're doing everything we can. Man, I'm trying to hold down this house. I'm trying to be a good husband. I'm trying to spend enough time. I'm trying to love the in-laws. I'm trying to raise these kids. I'm trying to make enough money. And I'm trying to just be a guy. Like, I'm just trying to hang out with dudes. And so even, I don't know, like, if there's healthier seasons that if I go, okay, you have a complaint, I'm trying. And then all of a sudden you bring this thing to me and you go, hey, this is where you've come up short. That's how I interpreted it. But I'm looking through a critical lens. I'm not looking at it like, oh, you just have a desire. So I think a lot of times when you come at me, and you go, hey, I feel like this is happening. What it does is it allows me to soften the blow to go, okay, as much as I'm trying to make everything right, the main thing I care about is your heart. And if you're feeling a certain way, I'll stop everything to make that right. And so I think it's really disarming to go, okay, wow, you're feeling this. Wow, you're hurt. You're angry. You're sad. Okay. And then it's not this attacking thing because, like, if you came at me and went, hey, I'm feeling kind of sad. Okay, great. Why are you feeling sad? Well, because you just moved it from a complaint to a very critical spirit. You know what I mean? Very criticism. Like, you took it off of an item and you put it onto me. And thankfully you don't do that. I have this thing that, one of the greatest examples that I'll ever remember is I had to change out a shower head in the bathroom. And it was,
I'm sorry. Keep going. It's great. It's a great story.
it was a time. I'm not a plumber, but I know how to change shower heads. I do that in every one. So I needed to get in the wall because I was having an issue with it. So I cut open the wall. Lo and behold, I didn't need to cut open the wall. But I cut open the wall. And I mean, I guess that hole sat there a couple weeks maybe. No.
I'm not going to criticize you.
It's not.
I'm just going to
I bet you that
we're gonna
hole
go
might
from
have sat
criticism
there.
to confession.
It might have sat there 3 years.
It was
2
a
years.
long time.
It was a very long time. It sat there. And what I love is never once did you do it daily. You didn't do it weekly. Didn't even do it monthly. But it was very much hey, I feel really uneasy about this hole. I mean, is there a way that we can get that fixed? Hey, and this I love too. Fellas, watch out for this move. Hey, can you do you mind next time you're at Home Depot, maybe you could pick up some drywall and some drywall patch? I'd be like, what are you going to do with that? Oh, I wanted to fix the hole in the bathroom. And I'm like, oh, that's dirty. Like that's a reverse mind. That's a reverse stuff. I got it. You know what I mean? But it was never like this, this attacking spirit, but it was something that I knew every time going, oh, why don't I fix that? So now I fixed it. I fixed the hole. And I mean, she hasn't painted it. It's been like a week and you haven't painted it yet. So I'm trying to figure out what's happening there.
Yeah.
But, it's like I did literally. I fixed the hole. And then about 2 days later, I was like, hey, how long is it going to sit unpainted? Because I've really got that patch there. And she just looked at me like, yeah, it's going to sit there.
I didn't even say a word. Didn't even say a word.
So let's look at, I want to debunk, like, how do we fix a critical spirit? If even like I told you a minute ago, when we're in this spot where, hey, I'm seeing things through a critical lens, maybe in your relationship, man, I have a critical spirit. Like I can be honest and I do attack a lot. I do come strong about complaints that I have. And it's not that I mean to, it's not that I want to, but I know that I'm definitely more critical of things than I should be. How do we debunk our spouse and kind of work around this critical spirit? And one of the things that I think you're very good at is being able to encourage like above and beyond. If your spouse has a critical spirit and being, seeing things negative is what they do or what you do, then, for a spouse to come in and go, hey, listen, I want you to know you are killing the game here. Man, you're doing great here. Man, I'm so thankful here. I'm proud here. Using your words is a weapon to really build up their spirit. Not to then, hey, I'm going to give you 2 left hooks and I'm going to come around with a right. No, just in general, bash a critical spirit by speaking joyous truths.
Yeah, that's really good.
Let that person know, wow, we are a team. And just out of the blue, man, you just keep fueling my soul with these words that build me up and make me feel like I'm on a mountain. For a guy, we've talked about it before, honor and respect are like our 2 main things.
Yeah.
To know that, hey, we're doing it. We get beat down at work, the things we're not doing right. We feel like we're not making enough money to keep up with the Joneses. Our kids are off the wall and crazy. They're not the sports heroes we thought they would be. We have all these pressures, right? And it's like, man, I want to know that somebody sees me and knows that I'm doing well.
Yeah. I think another thing that really has helped us, a lot of times we would wait until like maybe those stressor moments. Like let's just say, for instance, let's go back to that hole in the wall because that's, it was a funny story. But let's just say like, now all of a sudden someone's going to see our bedroom. So now there's this stressor and it's like this has to be done and it has to be done now. And that's again a funny story, but then there's other things in our lives that like we wait until there's all these compounding things and we wait until we have a bunch of stressors and then we just criticize our partner because it all comes out in the wash. Like, there's all these things that are frustrating me. We don't date enough. We don't have enough intimacy. We don't this. And so all of a sudden there's this critical lens, like you're saying, it's like lens upon lens upon lens upon lens. And it's like you got to then start to strip them all away. Whereas like if you communicate ahead of time, for us, I think we learned for me, at least in our relationship, like, hey, there's some things that I really want to work on the next couple weeks, like even around the house. There's a couple things that I really want to work on ministry wise. There's a couple things I want to work on personally. So today I just want you to know I'm having a really hard mental day, and this is what I need to do to refresh my soul. Tomorrow I'm going to tackle these things in life. And is there anything else that like I need to add to that list? Because I could use help in these areas. That's totally different. It's me bringing it to you going, I know we're really struggling with keeping up with XYZ in our life. Like, how can we tackle that this week? So I'm not looking back at the end of the week going, man, he didn't see anything that I needed help with, and I had to deal with it on my own. On top of that, I'm dealing with my own, mental crisis stuff, but he's oblivious to that. I'm taking charge and saying, this is how I'm feeling. This is what I'm looking at tackling this week. How do we tackle this together?
Yeah. And
that's very, very different than looking at it on the opposite side, saying, how do I now pick up the pieces?
Yeah. It's zero excuse for men. It's not an excuse, and I won't say it's an excuse. But when you think we know, we just don't know. Like, it's just not.
Sometimes.
It's
sometimes.
Many times. And it's not an excuse, but it's like, when those times you go, wow, he doesn't see anything that I've done. He doesn't see that I needed all these help. And did he not understand that there's many times that, like, I truly didn't. I truly don't.
Well, we just have different things that are our currency, different things that hold value to us, and you could use the exact same thing with, man, she didn't see me this week. She wasn't intimate with me. She didn't. That's different. We have different values, different, love languages, all of those things. But like, again, I think it's all like presetting, those expectations of like, or desires, not even expectations, but man, I really desire to have this output this week. So like, this is where I'm headed.
I love them. I absolutely love them that way. When it's like, hey, this is my desire of the week. This is what I'm hoping. This is where I need your help. I mean, give me that and I'm golden.
I know, but it's hard. It's hard to like look at it that way, but it has helped us. When we do that correctly, it helps us immensely. It really does.
I mean, and listen, I think any of those, take it upon your spouse, and you could be mad at that, right? Like, you could be upset with that and go, well, I don't like that. I shouldn't have to do that. Good Lord, you're 46 years old. Like, I mean, can you not get, and the reality is, yes, you're right. I'm trying my best every day. And I think I'm getting better than I was when I was 20, but I'm probably not where I am going to be where I'm 60. So any of those prompts that you give me, wow, that's huge for me, because give me a list and man, I'll move hell and high water to get anything you need done. And it may come in at the 12th hour. But that list will be done. I promise you that. But I want to get it out there. Like, man, be able to communicate even in your complaints. It's like if you don't have the open communication, and I think that's where you move from this dating place, and this is what we see so many times in coaching.
You can do it. It's okay.
Spit it out, kid. And coaching couples. They went from this place of sheer bliss.
Yeah.
We never fought. Oh, it was so good. Why is it like that? Because you have two people who are trying to win the hearts of the other person.
Right.
And so even the things that you do that drive me crazy, I just eat it. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Oh, I love her. She's so hot. Oh, it's all good. It's all good. Oh, I just want to marry her. Oh, it's all good. You just eat all these things. And so these complaints get stuffed and stuffed and stuffed and stuffed and stuffed. Then you have the big event. You get married. Now we're living together.
Right.
And now these things that were complaints, now they're personal. Well, I live with this. Oh, wait, I have the same complaints I had before. And now I have even more. And you just see it's like this crazy pool of just unhealth. Because we never learned in our dating phase to communicate. And I was the king at this. Like, I didn't tell you anything that I didn't like.
Yeah.
Because I liked it all.
Oh, thanks.
All
well, then we see the opposite happen, sitting in rooms with couples, we stuff all those things, and our critical spirit builds against our spouse. And instead of learning the communication skills to walk through how to complain healthily and not criticize. They just end up deciding sometimes they're going to find someone else that they don't have any complaints about. And we see the cycle over and over and over again. And it's not about the complaining. It's about not learning to take off that critical lens. And it's about learning to communicate desires and needs in a healthy manner. And we just.
No, there's a reason second and third marriages are higher rates of divorce.
Typically, yes.
Because that's a lot of times what happens.
Yeah.
What would you say, like, moving out into parenting,
Mm-hmm.
okay? You have the same things with parenting. A complaining child, a complaining parent, a critical parent. Give me like an example of a critical parent and what that looks like to a child.
I think tendencies in critical parents we've seen a lot would be comparison, comparing other kids to each other, comparing your kids to other families, comparing where you think they should be and where they're not. Expectations you're placing on them regardless of their own desires. I think sometimes you can be very critical. But again, putting down instead of building up. And I know I've said it multiple times, but speaking to that fool and the child instead of the king, calling out what you see them as, who you see them as, instead of telling them, what you think they are or aren't. That's the difference for me.
Yeah, I think one of the things that it just, I know everybody's different and how you were brought up and raised makes a big difference. But, I know for fellas sometimes it's like this, going to be this tough love. I'm going to love you through, whereas I'm going to create and cultivate this man in you so that you can know what manhood looks like and raw. And so you're less than, you're terrible, you're never going to be enough, you're not going to equate to anything. And this is how you begin to grow into like this amazing human being. I got guys all over. I know that that's the way they do it, especially when it comes to athletics and things like that. And I would just, I want, for all the fellas, it's like, why do you parent that way? Like, what causes you? God gives you this gift that's unbelievable, right? Like this genuine little person. And what causes you? And a lot of times when you begin to look at what causes you to be like that, you'll start diving into, again, a lot of luggage you're bringing into this. You've never been a parent before. And so all you know to do is maybe what you know to do. You don't want to fail in it, right? Because then everybody will look at you like you're a failed parent. So all you know is what your parents did, what they did in moderation, you do in excess. You want them to be something greater than you were. All great things as parent. You should want your kids to be more than you were. You should want them to go farther than you went. But what methods are you doing? And I think being able to talk to, your sons or daughters or children at that point, and just go, hey, here's open communication. I know for our home, I for a long time, and even after, really turning my life around and become somebody different, I was seen with this critical, that I came across very critical. And I really didn't think I meant to, but that's the way they were perceiving it. Yeah. That's the way they were going through. They were saying, well, they should toughen up. And the reality is, okay, maybe they should, but they're kids.
Right.
It shouldn't be on them. I'm a grown adult. Like, look at the way I use my words. Now I see where they're at, and I see how they talk and where they're going, and I feel like, okay, like they're going to get it. Can't wait to see how now they raise their kids, because it doesn't have to be that tough, I'm going to lay down the law.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, it's crazy when you look at when someone communicates with you. I can't think of one time in my entire life that someone has come to me and put me down or called me names or, anything like that made me feel like I want to please that person. Like I want to be better for that person. If I did, it was only out of fear. It was only out of fear. It wasn't out of love. Right? So like the only interaction that would ever cause would be fear and possibly maybe behavior modification. But the only thing that really allowed me to grow and nurture and become who I wanted to be were words of affirmation, of continually instruction. And obviously your kids have to have consequences when there's things. So it's not like you know, all those consequences aren't fun, but the consequences can still come with a lens of love. Like, I'm doing this not because you're less than, I'm doing because I care so much for you. I want the best for you. And like, there's a heart issue here. Like, I want you to see how much you're loved and how much I see in you. Like, this isn't the line that like we're expecting you to cross. This is our expectation of you. And that's a very different conversation than you always mess up. You're never going to amount to anything. That's very, very, very different. And so I think it's just this, you know, this constant like checking of our own spirit when we're talking with our spouse, and checking of our heart when we're conversating with our kids, and like, is what I'm saying to them building or tearing? And those are really the only two options. They really are. It's either constructive, or, you know, it's either building, or it's the opposite.
Yeah. Man, it takes me literally, you just like time warped me back to 1997, 96 maybe.
A good year.
I was you graduated?
Yeah.
And you graduated in the 90s?
I know.
When I was coaching the Reds, Lutz Little League, a winter program. Remember like it was yesterday. And I had this little kid on the team, and terrible baseball player.
Oh.
Yeah. Well,
don't say his name.
I mean, truth. Okay, I don't.
What if he's watching?
Truth.
Right now.
Watching?
He's like, was it me? I know it was
Really,
me.
He was a bad baseball player, but he had this desire to pitch,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, he could barely throw, much less pitch. And we were on the big fields. I think it's like 56 feet or something. And I remember having a conversation with his pops, and like, yeah, this is his thing, but I know he's not good enough. And so then it became like, probably not the most healthy me, but it became this mission like, oh, I'm going to watch this kid succeed.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to show you that he can do it. And I didn't even, like, these things I didn't even know at the time. I just, you know, it's in me as a person. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm doing this.
Mm.
And so I'll never forget, there was one game that I put this little chunky kid up on the mound. And he, what?
Nothing. Nothing. Your adjectives, like nothing. Keep going.
Oh, chunky?
Yes,
Oh,
keep going.
gosh. Sorry. I was like, what did I say? I put this little kid on the mound, and I remember when he recorded his first out.
Oh.
And I'm telling you, you would have thought he won the Super Bowl. Well, World Series.
Yeah. Wrong sport. Even I knew that. I'm like, that's not that game. That's
You would have thought he won the World Series. And I had this kid pitch like 3 more times.
Oh.
And I'll never forget the conversation at the end of the year when his dad walked up to me and thanked me for putting his kid in that position.
Wow.
And it just, you know, like, I feel like you're always going to get more with honey than you do vinegar.
Yeah.
Like, as a parent, man, dads, fellas, moms, do they understand? No, they're young kids. Do they make dumb mistakes? Yes, they make dumb mistakes. They do stupid things. So did you. So did I. Danette didn't, because she was perfect.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
You know, like, they make these dumb mistakes, but guess what? They've never been that age before.
Yeah.
They've never lived this life at the time that they're living it before. You haven't ever parented in the day that you are now before. It's like, understand, we're all on this journey together. Yeah. We're all learning new things in this world that's moving 1,000 miles an hour. Man, we're here together.
Yeah, even the like what you say with the father, you know, in that scenario, you know, that's the story we're kind of going with. But time and time again, I've seen, you know, parents have a critical spirit because maybe they were so traumatized as a kid in failure that they almost out as a safety measure don't want their kid to fail. So they just don't allow them to try it, or they say that's going to be too hard for you, or that's just not something you do, or we don't do that, or you're not going to be good at that. So they try to protect them, but even in that, it's critical, right? And I think if we release our children and we release our spouse to go, hey, you might fail here, but you know what, you're going to give it your best and try and see, because you don't know. You may love it. You may absolutely love it. What you're going to do is you're going to try your best and see how it goes. What's the worst you do? Like, failure isn't final. Failure isn't defining. What it is it's giving you something to try, to see and test, to see what skills you do have. And so encouraging your spouse, encouraging your child to try things that might breathe life into them is also another way to just really encourage their spirit. Because even if it's the words we don't say, it can be things we don't allow, things we don't give freedom in, because we're safeguarding them, right? And we're literally just being critical of who we think they could be.
I love hearing you talk.
I love hearing you talk.
You just go in, and I
gosh.
love it. It's so sweet to my soul.
Thanks.
I love failure isn't final.
Yeah.
And I think if there's anything that you may hear in this complaining and criticizing conversation, it does not matter how you did it yesterday. It's how will you do it tomorrow. What's an area in your marriage and your relationship and in your parenting, what's an area that you can just introspect, look at yourself and go, listen, the fact is maybe I was a little critical. Maybe I have been I've criticized you a little too much. Ask for forgiveness, repent, move on, do something different tomorrow. Tomorrow, don't be as critical. Begin now. When's the best time to start? Right now. Like, if you haven't done it, start right now and begin breathing love. Listen, as believers, I mean, we live this life. You're going to be known what you're for, what you're against. And for many of us, we're so critical to the outside world that we tear people down. It's like, man, learn what a spirit of criticism looks like. Like, get that out of there. Don't be so critical, and love people for where they're at. Learn how to express your words. Learn how to communicate that even in disagreements, people leave better than you found them.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
listen, that's about it.
All right.
Let's do this. Hey, I just want to encourage you. Thank you again for just joining us as two best friends kicking it on a couch. That could be a rap song. I like that.
That sounds like a not good rap song. It sounds dirty. We're going to move on.
So listen, two best friends kicking it on a couch. Thank you for once getting it. Thank you all for joining in. Remember, brokenforbetter.com. If there's any way that we can come alongside of you, marriage coach to you, come alongside you and your spouse, come along you as parents, come along you as individuals. We want to do all that God has created us to be. So have a wonderful day. We look forward to seeing you next time.